want to drive him wild with just a few words. Sexy isn't about saying more, it's about saying right. Tease his imagination, not just his body. Be playful, confident, and a little mysterious. Show desire without chasing. Remember, it's not the text that hooks him, it's how you make him feel reading it. When most people think of a sexy text, they imagine something explicit, bold, and straight to the point. But what many don't realize is that the kind of message that truly makes a man think about you all day isn't graphic, it's suggestive. It's the emotional tease, the subtle flirtation, the well-placed words that spark curiosity and anticipation. That's what makes the difference between a text that gets a reaction and one that keeps him hooked. Men are highly visual, yes, but when it comes to emotional attraction and sustained desire, it's not what they see, it's what they feel in response to you. That's where emotional tease becomes incredibly powerful. Emotional tease is the art of hinting without revealing, inviting without begging, exciting without demanding. It's the space between the words that creates the tension. Let's break this down with an example. Say you text him, "Can't stop thinking about what I'd do to you if you were here." That's bold, sure, but it leaves little to the imagination. Now compare that to, "I shouldn't tell you what I'm thinking right now, it's far too distracting." That second one, that's an emotional tease. It doesn't say anything explicit, but it implies so much. It gets him wondering. He starts playing out scenarios in his mind. And now he's mentally engaged, curious, a little aroused, and most importantly, emotionally invested. The emotional tease is about sparking that investment. It's about giving him a taste without serving the full meal. Think about it, when you go on a first date and someone tells you everything about themselves in one sitting, there's no mystery left. But if they give you glimpses, something playful, something intriguing, you leave wanting more. Texting is no different. A little mystery is incredibly magnetic. Another reason emotional tease works so well is that it activates his imagination. And imagination is a much stronger driver of desire than certainty. If he knows exactly what's coming, there's no build-up. But if he has to fill in the blanks, he becomes a co-creator in the fantasy. And once he starts investing mentally, he starts investing emotionally. But here's the catch, you can only pull this off if it's grounded in genuine confidence. Emotional tease isn't about playing games or manipulating. It's about knowing your own value and letting him experience the thrill of discovering it piece by piece. When you're emotionally secure, you don't need to overshare, over-impress, or over-explain. You can say less and still leave a lasting impact. So next time you feel the urge to send something overtly sexual to grab his attention, pause. Ask yourself, what can I say that will pull him in, not just get a quick reaction? That's the difference between a woman who's momentarily exciting and one who becomes unforgettable. Confidence isn't just attractive, it's magnetic. It's the secret ingredient that makes even the simplest text message feel sexy, powerful, and irresistible. When a woman communicates with certainty, ease, and self-respect, it sends a message that goes beyond the words on the screen. It tells him, "I know who I am, and I'm not afraid to let you see it." So many people think they need the perfect line or the right amount of emojis to come across as desirable. But the truth is, it's not about the content, it's about the energy behind the message. Confidence gives that energy. A confident woman doesn't text out of insecurity, hoping for validation. She doesn't ask questions she doesn't really want the answers to. She doesn't overthink every word or wonder if she's being too much. She knows her worth before she hits send. Think about the difference in tone between these two texts. "Hey, are you still interested in hanging out?" versus, "I was thinking about that smile of yours today, dangerous." One feels like it's seeking reassurance, the other feels self-assured, playful, and intriguing. The second message works not because it's perfectly crafted, but because it comes from someone who isn't afraid to own her flirtation. That kind of self-possession is rare and deeply sexy. Confidence also creates safety in communication. When a woman knows who she is, she doesn't need to manipulate or control the conversation. She doesn't try to be someone she's not just to hold someone's attention, and that authenticity is refreshing. It invites the man to be real too, to drop the performative act and just connect. That realness, paired with sensual energy, creates a deeper bond, one that's not just about physical attraction, but emotional alignment. One of the most attractive qualities of confidence is the ability to express desire without losing power. Many people avoid expressing interest because they fear looking desperate. But when you come from a place of strength, you can say, "I'd love to see you," without attaching your self-worth to his response. That's sexy. That's rare. And that's what makes you unforgettable. Even playfulness hits differently when it's paired with confidence. A cheeky text from someone who's centered and secure feels bold, fun, and exciting. That same message from someone who's unsure of themselves feels risky, awkward, or even needy. The difference isn't the words, it's the self-belief behind them. Ultimately, confidence is the foundation of attraction. It's what allows you to flirt with freedom, tease with elegance, and communicate desire without giving away your power. It turns ordinary words into electric moments. And when a man senses that confidence not just in how you look, but in how you carry yourself, he can't help but lean in, wanting more of your energy, your presence, and your vibe. Timing can transform an ordinary message into something unforgettable. It's not just about what you say, it's when you say it. The same flirty text can either build irresistible anticipation or fall completely flat, depending on the moment it arrives. Great timing taps into emotion, catches him off guard in the best way, and makes him feel like you're reading his mind. Think about this. You send a playful, suggestive message at a moment when he's least expecting it, maybe mid-afternoon, while he's at work or winding down after a long day. Suddenly, his mood shifts. He's pulled out of his routine, intrigued, mentally replaying what you said. Why? Because it broke the rhythm of his day in the best possible way. You created a moment. That's the power of timing. Now flip that. If you send a message like that late at night, after you haven't heard from him all day, it might not hit the same. It could come across as a reach for attention rather than a confident move. Timing reveals intent, and intent shapes perception. A well-timed text feels intentional, light, and exciting. A poorly timed one can feel emotionally heavy or reactive. It's also important to consider the flow of the conversation. You don't need to rush to respond just because you got a message. Confidence in texting is as much about pace as it is about content. If you're always available, always replying within seconds, you remove the space for desire to build. But if you take your time not to play games, but because your life is full, you naturally create tension. You show that while you're interested, you're not waiting by the phone. That in itself is incredibly attractive. Sometimes the sexiest text isn't sent during a conversation, it's the one that comes out of nowhere. Not because you're bored or trying to provoke a response, but because you're genuinely thinking about him and want to share that moment. A spontaneous message that says, "You just popped into my mind," or "I just walked past someone who smells like you dangerous," carries more weight than a string of messages in a dry chat. It's unexpected, it's thoughtful, and it says, "You're on my mind even when we're not talking." Another aspect of timing is emotional readiness. Don't send something intimate if the emotional connection isn't there yet. Sexy texts land better when there's already a sense of trust and chemistry. If you send something provocative too early, it might feel forced. But when you wait until the connection is warm, when there's already a rhythm between you, your message becomes the spark that takes things to the next level. In the end, timing isn't just about the clock, it's about emotional awareness. It's about understanding the dynamic between you and using it to create tension, playfulness, and anticipation. The right text at the right time doesn't just grab his attention, it stays in his mind long after he's read it. Mystery is one of the most powerful elements in attraction. It creates space for curiosity, for imagination, for pursuit. In a world where everyone is oversharing and over-explaining, mystery makes you stand out. It doesn't mean being distant or unavailable. It means leaving just enough unsaid to make someone lean in closer. When it comes to texting, mystery turns a simple message into something magnetic. Think of mystery as the pause in the conversation that keeps him wondering. It's the playful hint you drop without spelling everything out. When you say, "I had a dream about you last night," and don't say anything else, you're not being withholding, you're creating intrigue. He's now wondering, what kind of dream? Was it sweet, spicy, Emotional. That curiosity doesn't frustrate, it engages. It makes him invest. He starts trying to fill in the blanks, and that investment is exactly what builds desire. Mystery works because it taps into something primal. As human beings, we're wired to pursue what we don't fully understand. The moment something is completely known and predictable, the brain loses interest. But when there's a question mark, when there's the sense that someone has layers you haven't fully uncovered, yet you stay engaged, and when someone feels there's more to discover about you, they keep coming back. In texting, this means avoiding the temptation to over-explain yourself. If he asks, "What are you up to tonight?" and you respond with a full schedule and every detail of your evening, you've answered the question, but you haven't left anything to the imagination. But if you say, "Let's just say it involves candles and trouble," now you've sparked curiosity. He's going to want to know more. And wanting to know more is the first sign he's hooked. Mystery also creates confidence. When you trust that someone will be intrigued by who you are without giving everything away immediately, it shows that you're secure in your own allure. You don't need to prove your worth. You don't need to fill every silence. You're comfortable letting someone wonder about you, and that energy is magnetic. It shows that you're selective, not desperate, that you have standards, that your attention is something to be earned, not assumed. Being mysterious also gives him space to chase. When you reveal everything at once, there's no room left for him to initiate, to be curious, or to explore the dynamic. But when you drop just enough to pique interest without always being the one to explain or follow up, you open the door for him to step in, and if he's truly interested, he will. Mystery doesn't mean playing games. It means knowing your worth and choosing to reveal yourself in layers, not all at once. It's the subtle art of being just out of reach, not because you're avoiding connection, but because you're letting the connection build. That sense of mystery doesn't create confusion, it creates magnetism. And magnetism is what keeps him thinking about you long after the conversation ends. Humor is one of the most underrated tools in attraction, especially when it comes to texting. It cuts through awkwardness, builds connection, and creates chemistry faster than even the most carefully crafted flirty message. Why? Because when someone makes us laugh, we drop our guard. We become more ourselves. And in that space, emotional attraction begins to take root. When you use humor in a text, you're not just entertaining him, you're showing your personality. You're showing that you're confident enough not to take yourself too seriously. That you're not afraid to be a little playful, a little cheeky, maybe even a bit sarcastic. That kind of energy is magnetic. It says, "I'm fun to be around," without ever needing to say it outright. A flirty message that's also funny hits differently than one that's just sexy. For example, you could send, "I'm wearing something tonight that should be illegal," which is clearly intended to be seductive. But imagine instead, "I put on a dress tonight that makes me look 10% more mysterious and 90% more likely to trip on stairs." It still has a sexy undertone, but it makes him smile. And in making him smile, you make him feel good. That's the key. People remember how you made them feel far more than what you said. Humor also builds a unique kind of intimacy. Inside jokes, shared banter, and playful teasing create a language between the two of you. Suddenly, you have your own little world that no one else gets. And that private connection, that's emotional glue. It deepens the bond and keeps the dynamic alive. What's important to remember is that humor doesn't have to be constant or over the top. It's not about becoming a comedian or trying to perform. It's about being light-hearted, letting your wit shine through naturally, and not being afraid to make fun of yourself once in a while. Self-deprecating humor, when done with confidence, is especially powerful. It shows that you're secure, grounded, and approachable. Texting can often feel stiff or overly calculated. Humor breaks that tension. It invites spontaneity. It reminds both of you that attraction doesn't have to be serious to be strong. A well-timed, funny text can snap him out of a stressful day and make him associate you with relief, fun, and ease. That's a powerful emotional anchor to create. When a woman can flirt and make him laugh, she becomes unforgettable. Because now she's not just someone he's attracted to, she's someone he enjoys. She's someone he looks forward to hearing from, not just because of how she looks or what she might say next, but because she makes his world brighter. That's what humor does. It lowers the walls. It creates connection. And when used with confidence and a bit of flirtation, it becomes the secret weapon that not only hooks him but keeps him emotionally invested. Letting him chase digitally doesn't mean playing games or manipulating, it means creating space for attraction to build naturally. In a world where instant replies and constant availability are the norm, being just a little less accessible can actually be the thing that makes you unforgettable. It's not about being cold or distant. It's about having enough self-respect and self-worth to know that your attention is valuable and treating it that way. When you allow him to pursue you digitally, you give him the opportunity to invest. And investment creates attachment. If you're always the one initiating, always replying within seconds, always double texting when the conversation slows down, you might think you're showing interest, but what you're actually doing is removing the tension. And tension, when done right, is what keeps attraction alive. Digital chasing isn't about making him work for every reply or trying to be unavailable for effect. It's about maintaining your rhythm, your pace, your life, and letting him meet you there. When you're busy, stay busy. When you're focused on something else, don't rush to your phone just because he messaged. That delay, that pause, that moment where he wonders, what's she up to? It creates intrigue, and intrigue keeps people curious. It keeps them engaged. Part of letting him chase also means not always filling the silence. Sometimes the conversation doesn't need a response right away. Sometimes it's better to let the moment breathe. If you're the one constantly driving the interaction forward, he doesn't have to. And when someone doesn't have to do something, they usually don't. But if you step back, if you allow a lull to happen without panic, you give him a chance to lean in, to step up, to show his interest by taking initiative. Even the way you respond plays a role. A confident, playful reply that doesn't give everything away keeps the energy light and exciting. You don't have to be overly clever or dramatic, just keep a little back. Leave room for questions. End a message in a way that lets him follow up. For example, instead of saying, "I had a relaxing evening, just watched a movie," you could say, "I watched something last night that had me thinking of you." That little hook invites him to ask, to stay in the conversation. That's you setting the stage, then letting him walk into it. When you're not always readily available, when you don't rush to close every gap or reply to every message with urgency, you subtly shift the dynamic. You show that while you're interested, you're not dependent. You're open but not desperate. You're warm but not chasing. And that balance, it's powerful. It flips a switch in his mind. It makes him think, "I want more of her attention." It makes him earn your engagement. And when he earns it, he values it. That's how digital chasing works. It's not a trick. It's a reflection of your confidence, and that's exactly what makes it so irresistible. When it comes to creating deep emotional connection through texting, one of the most powerful combinations you can use is appreciation plus suggestion. It's the sweet spot between making a man feel valued and pulling him closer without pressure. It works because it taps into two things he craves: recognition and direction. When you make someone feel seen and wanted at the same time, you instantly become unforgettable. Appreciation alone is wonderful. It makes him feel good, admired, and respected. But when you pair it with a playful or flirty suggestion, you take the interaction to another level. You're not just saying, "I like you," you're saying, "I like you and I want more of this." That subtle hint moves the energy forward without demanding anything. It feels organic, warm, and exciting. Here's an example. You could say, "You have the most calming voice, it made my whole day better." That's pure appreciation. But now add a suggestion. "You should definitely use it on me more often, preferably over dinner." Suddenly, it's not just a compliment, it's an invitation. You've made him feel good about himself and gently pointed the way to a new experience with you. That's the magic of this combo. What makes this approach so powerful is that it feels effortless. It doesn't scream, "I'm trying to impress you," or "please like me." Instead, it gives off the energy of a woman who knows her worth, enjoys the interaction, and isn't afraid to steer it in a direction she desires. That confidence is attractive. That ease is alluring. And most importantly, it makes him want to rise to the occasion. Another version of this might look like, You're dangerous when you smile like that. You should come with a warning label. That's cheeky appreciation with a flirty undertone. Then you follow with, I'd still risk it though, maybe over drinks this weekend. You're expressing interest without chasing. You're being bold without being overbearing. You're suggesting a next step without taking all the control. That gives him room to step in, take initiative, and feel like a man in the process. This approach works especially well in texting because it stands out from the usual "hey" or "what are you up to" kinds of messages. It brings a layer of emotional playfulness that's often missing in digital conversation. It shows that you're not just looking for surface-level attention, you're creating moments, building rapport, and deepening the connection, all in a single text. And here's the beauty of it. Men want to feel appreciated. They want to feel like they're making an impact. When you recognize something genuine about him and pair it with a subtle direction or invitation, it hits on both his ego and his emotions. That blend makes him feel good and gets him thinking about what comes next with you. So the next time you want to send a message that sticks, try appreciation plus suggestion. It's authentic, it's confident, and it's quietly, powerfully irresistible. Making a man feel like a hero is one of the most powerful ways to build attraction, and it's incredibly effective when done through texting. The art of making him feel valued, admired, and capable without ever objectifying him creates an emotional connection that goes far beyond physical attraction. It taps into something deeper, the desire to feel respected, needed, and empowered. Too often when we flirt, we fall into the trap of playing games, using him for validation, or treating him like a source of entertainment. But when you want to build real emotional chemistry, it's essential to make him feel like more than just a passing distraction or a way to fill your emotional void. You want him to feel like a hero, someone whose actions matter and whose efforts are appreciated. The key is in how you communicate. Instead of making everything about you or how much you need him, focus on how he makes you feel. Acknowledge his strengths, his qualities, and the ways he adds value to your life. It's easy to get caught up in the idea of being pursued, but it's just as powerful to flip the script and make him feel like he's the one doing the pursuing emotionally. Take, for example, the difference between saying, "I need you to come over and help me with this," and "you always know how to handle things, can I count on you for this?" The second message highlights his strength and capability. It gives him a sense of purpose, like he's someone you rely on and respect. It's not about manipulation, it's about making him feel like his presence matters, and that he's someone who can rise to the occasion when needed. When you make him feel like a hero, you're not just giving him praise for superficial reasons. You're recognizing his value in a way that makes him feel proud of himself. You're creating an environment where he doesn't feel like a tool to be used or a means to an end. Instead, he feels like a person whose efforts are meaningful and appreciated. Even in moments of vulnerability, you can make him feel like a hero by expressing trust in him. For example, instead of saying, "I don't know how to handle this situation, can you fix it?" try, "I'm dealing with something